Hello friends, today's lecture is an introduction to the field of communication research. This lecture is part of your paper Communication Research. These days we wake up to check our cell phones for WhatsApp messages, emails and news alerts. We also do this as the last thing before we sleep. Everywhere we go, we are surrounded by screens that offer us news and entertainment in various forms. We are the eager recipients of torrents of information that come to us via cell phones, televisions, radios, newspapers, books, hoardings and so on. We consume information in the form of viral videos, soap operas, travel shows, advertisements, cartoon strips, news, features, films and many more. But then the question arises, why do we choose what we choose? How do we choose what we choose? Why are we offered certain options and not others? What do we do with the content or we choose? All these questions come under the purview of communication research. In this module, we examine 3 questions that media and communication students often encounter when they come across communication research. They are: why is communications research important? In this section, we will discuss why understanding communication research is must for anyone who wishes to understand media and communication. Second, how are we going to learn to do communications research in this course? This section will have detailed explanations of the topics that are covered in this paper to get a holistic perspective of communication studies. Third, what are the prerequisites for this course? Many people perceive research as something that involves dealing with huge numbers and complicated algorithms and hence requires a minimum understanding of how to deal with numbers. This section therefore will especially attempt to allay the fears of math-phobic students facing quantitative research methods for the first time. Part 1: Communication Research. What and why? As communications researchers, we study people, that is consumers and producers of content in various forms: television shows, films, songs, Facebook posts and various other types of content within different contexts, that is linguistic, policy, legal, economic, technological and other forms of institutional settings. Communications research is concerned with the consumption and creation of content. It is an interdisciplinary field that draws from the social sciences and the humanities for both its topics and its investigative methods and techniques. William Pasley in 1984 in his article Communication in the Communication Sciences visualizes different disciplines as operating at different levels. Psychology examines the individual. Sociology at the next level examines groups of individuals Anthropology at the next higher level examines entire societies and so on. He further argues communication in a variable field, that it is concerned with variables that operate at different levels, thus can be studied at sociological and anthropological levels as well as at the psychological level and psychosociological levels. So, studying the penetration of new media technologies in the rural areas, analyzing the content on television, mapping the TV view habits of people, observing the impact of entertainment, industry as a soft power, all of these come under the purview of communication research. At this point, we must clarify that we are only leading with communication that is mediated in some form. Thus, we do not include areas such as interpersonal or organizational communication in our study here. No matter what kind of work you do or plan to do in the media, sooner or later you will face these three words. Research shows that as Weimer and Dominic in 2011 note in their book Mass Media Research, literally every area of the mass media uses research, and anyone who works in the media or plans to do will be exposed to or will be involved in research. This paper therefore is designed to help you to get well versed with all the concepts and jargons associated with communication research. But more importantly, this will give you an understanding of research methods so that you can evaluate the findings of the research study, on the basis of which you will have to take decisions which will have a tangible or intangible impact on your communications business. The contextualization part is the most important part of communication, considering that it is an interdisciplinary field. For example, if you plan to work in a television production or in advertising, you need to understand television ratings as well as the rich details that focus groups provide while testing television show pilots. Similarly, if you plan to work as a journalist, you will need to understand the context within which news organizations operate and the important context that readership and circulation studies provide regarding the readers of the newspaper. Or for example, you plan to work in ad film production, you will have to understand how focus groups can be used to test the versions of the ad that you have created and so on. As we all know, we have living in the area of big data. Therefore, the all of us need to know how to understand as well as how to creatively visualize data in the form of infographics, which now leap out at us not only the pages of newspapers, but also in our social media news feeds. If we just briefly look at history of communication research, especially in United States of America, you will realize the extent of governments and industry involvement in communications research. This is largely because of their interest in understanding how persuasion and political propaganda work. Interestingly, this involvement is heightened at certain times, such as in times of war. For example, World War II is seen as a watershed period in the development of communications research due to funding from the American government. At the very start, we focus on the historical development of communication research. We examine the milestones of the mainstream view of communications research history, such as the propaganda model, the limited effects paradigm, cultural criticism, and the moderate effects paradigm. We also reflect upon the rich opportunities that awaits us in the study of the history of communications research in our own country. This will provide us with a big picture view of the main concerns of the field of communications research. The subsequent sections will deal with the two main approaches used in communications research, the qualitative and quantitative research approaches. Our focus would be on how they are used to explore the three main objects of communications research, that is audiences, texts, institutions as identified by Bertrand and Hughes. At this juncture, we will take some time to understand what does the word theory means. Now, many students fear this word. Researchers value theory because it means explanation. But let's just ask ourselves, would anyone, especially student, planning to enter the demanding professional world of media, which values creativity and out of the box thinking, want to avoid something which offers them explanations and a way to understand their consumers? I think you would have got your answer by now. Thus, in the section titled "The Importance of Theory," we will spend some time understanding how communications researchers view theory and how it helps us in determining what is good research. After this, we will also familiarize ourselves with the media effects and processes paradigm and the theories such as the uses and gratifications approach, cultivation, knowledge gap, framing, agenda setting and the political economy approach, which emphasizes the important role played by institutions. The section titled Ethics will help us in developing an understanding of the importance of the ethics while conducting research and how to prevent plagiarism, which in addition to being an unethical practice also acts as a deterrent to the student developing her or his own voice in this cluttered world of communication. This ethics will lay a strong foundation for the next module, which is the research process. The research process module will deconstruct the research process in great detail. In this module, we will learn how to frame research questions and hypotheses based on annotated bibliographies and literature reviews. We will frame conceptual and operational definitions and identify continuous and discrete variables. This section will also focus on validity, reliability and generalizability. Sampling, non-probability sampling, probability sampling is also introduced in this section along with the design of a quantitative instrument. This section will also include data collection, quantitative data analysis, coding data, statistical measures of central tendency, variability, correlation and the use of statistical programs such as SPSS, STATA and R. We will also study the difference between the qualitative and qualitative approaches by designing a qualitative research study and examining qualitative data analysis techniques such as the constant comparative technique and the analytic induction technique. The section is rounded off by an exploration of visualization and representation of the results and report writing. Once we are familiar with the research process, the following section presents some methods commonly used by communications researchers. One section is entirely dedicated to quantitative methods such as surveys, secondary data analysis, content analysis and experiments. Another section introduces qualitative methods including ethnographic, in-depth interviews and focus group discussions. The subsequent section deals with mixed methods such as case studies, document analysis and historical methods favored by political economy researchers and policy researchers. The section titled "The Way Forward" examines the dissemination of research through conference presentations and publications and highlights the importance of the peer review process. What are the prerequisites for this course? So, let us just address your concern at the very start. Despite the inclusion of statistics as a part of the research process using quantitative methods, students who are unsure of their mathematical abilities need not to be worried. While there are qualitative communications researchers who use advanced statistical model techniques, the beginner will not have any need for them, and certainly not for this course. The 10th standard level of mathematics will be more than adequate for this course. So, you see, apart from the essential prerequisite for postgraduate education in media and communications, which is a well developed curiosity about communications, there are no further prerequisites for this course. Let us now summarize what we have covered in the lecture. We discussed that the aim of research is the creation of new knowledge. Students who enjoy discovering things about their world will enjoy this course. We discussed that as communications researchers, we study people, that is consumers and producers of content in various forms. Like television shows, films, songs, Facebook posts and various other types of content within different contexts, that is linguistic, policy, legal, economic, technological and other forms of institutional settings. Research also calls for a systematic and meticulous process. Therefore, students will find this course to be good training for the rigorous demands of the professional media world, with its emphasis on high quality and precision at every level. Research progresses through a system of formal argument and empirical evidence, and students will find this way of thinking an asset in the professional world. At the very minimum, this course aims to prepare the student for the day when she or he will encounter these three words. Research shows that. We hope that this lecture helped you in understanding the basics of communication research. Thank you.